Hey, welcome back. In our last explainer, we covered the basics of rum. Today, we're going a lot deeper. We're going to crack open the very source code of its flavor.
For the longest time, this is how many of us have thought about rum, right? You see it on the shelves, cocktail recipes just call for white rum or dark rum. It seems simple enough. But here's the thing. Classifying rum by its color is kind of like judging a car by its paint job instead of what's under the hood. These categories, they're often really misleading, and honestly, they don't tell you anything meaningful about how rum actually tastes. So what we really need is a better framework. A way to understand rum that starts at the very beginning of the process, at the source of all of its potential flavor.
Every single rum in the world, doesn't matter where it's from or what color it is, traces its origin right back to this one plant. But the very first decision a producer makes, how to process this cane, well, that creates two fundamentally different paths for the spirit.
And this one decision? It's huge. It splits the entire world of rum into two distinct families. If you can get your head around this, you'll know what to expect in the glass before you even pour it. So on one side, you've got fresh, pressed sugarcane juice. Spirits made this way, like rum agricole or cachaça, are just so vibrant and expressive. They capture that grassy, earthy, really vegetal character of the raw plant. Then, on the other side, you have molasses. Now, molasses is a byproduct of making sugar, and it's the base for the vast majority of rums out there. It creates a spirit with a much richer, deeper profile. Think toffee, caramel, and burnt sugar. And this quote, it just nails how wild and complex a cane juice spirit can be. It's describing a clarin from Haiti, and it perfectly captures these intense, savory, funky, almost woody notes you can find. I mean, it is a world away from what most people think of when they hear the word rum.
Okay, let's dive into the next crucial step. The raw material. That sets the foundation, right? But fermentation, that's where the real magic happens. This is the flavor factory. This is where yeast gets to work.
So, as yeast eats sugar to produce alcohol, it also creates hundreds of other aromatic compounds. We call these congeners, and the most important ones for us are called esters. You can think of esters as these tiny molecular building blocks of aroma. The type of yeast you use, how long you ferment, the temperature, it all influences which esters get created and how much of them you get. Now, this is where it gets really cool, because we can directly link these chemical compounds to the aromas you can actually identify in the glass. When you smell that big banana note, that's isoamyl acetate. Getting pineapple, you're smelling ethyl butyrate. See, this isn't just abstract science. It's practical knowledge for describing the rums on your back bar. To really understand the power of fermentation, we have to talk about Jamaica. The island is home to some of the most aromatic, intense, high-ester rums on the entire planet. And it's all thanks to some truly unique traditional production methods. You've probably heard the term wugo, or Jamaican funk. It actually comes from the French for high taste, and it's that unmistakable, powerful aroma. It's like overripe tropical fruit mixed with savory notes, something almost leathery. It's that smell that just stops you in your tracks. It's complex, it can be a little divisive, and it's a direct result of a process designed to crank out as many esters as possible. The first key to creating that funk is something called dunder. So after a batch of rum is distilled, the liquid left behind in the still, that's dunder. It's acidic, it's full of nutrients. The best way to think of it is like a sourdough starter for rum. You add it to the next fermentation to kickstart the whole process and create the perfect environment for producing a ton of those flavorful esters.
And now for the part that sounds a little scary but is pure flavor science, the muck pit. Okay, it's not as gross as it sounds. A muck pit is basically a carefully managed biological reactor. It's a culture of bacteria and acids that's used to create a super concentrated soup of the very building blocks that will become those intensely fruity and funky esters later on.
So let's put it all together. The process starts with a normal distillation. The dunder that's left over helps feed the muck pit. Then, for the next batch, a little bit of that muck plus a healthy dose of dunder are added to the fermentation. This combination just supercharges the whole thing, pushing the yeast to create an incredible amount of esters, and that's how you get that signature Jamaican hogo.
All right, so we've seen how the raw materials, juice or molasses, sets the basic direction for a rum, and how the fermentation process builds this whole complex world of flavor right on top of that foundation.
If you only take away two things today, let it be these. The raw material and the fermentation style. They're the two most important factors in determining how a rum is going to taste, way more than its color will ever tell you.
But of course, the story doesn't end there. We've got the foundation, but there are other crucial steps. In our next explainer, we're going to cover how distillation shapes the spirit, how aging in barrels adds completely new layers of complexity, and we will finally debunk the myth of color for good.
So for now, here's a question to think about. Behind your bar, which family of rum do you see more? Now that you know the source code, think about the flavor profiles you work with every single day. Are they built on that grassy vegetal foundation of sugarcane juice, or that rich caramel base of molasses? We'll see you next time.